Prodeus is the latest in a flood of retro-inspired FPS titles to come out in the last couple of years, and it might just be my favorite game of 2020. Plot here is almost non-existent. You're some kind of soldier who's fighting his way through this hellish-looking world in order to take down a mysterious entity called Prodeus, which is the thing or the person or whoever that created the world and the monsters in it. Not exactly a deep story, but it doesn't need to be overly convoluted, and it doesn't really take away from the gameplay. Now, being a retro-inspired FPS title, of course the presentation of this game is going to look and feel a lot like those old 90s shooters. I love the visual style here. It looks like a boomer shooter that's just been cranked up to 11, with pixelated artwork and really nice looking lighting and lots of color. The presentation of this game really kind of blows me away. It has that old school aesthetic, but it still seems really sharp and stylish. Weapon and enemy sprites look fantastic. They've got that pixelated style, but despite that, they look crisp and detailed, especially when you layer all that beautiful lighting on top of it. It looks fantastic. If you want, you can go into the options and change the enemy sprites to 3D models, but in my opinion, it just kind of ruins the aesthetic of the game and it makes it feel less unique. Level designs also seem like a blend of old and new. It's the classic stuff of running around and looking for keys and switches to unlock all kinds of doors, but Prodeus feels way more vertical. You'll be traversing up and down just as much as you will through linear rooms and hallways. A lot of levels will just have a straight up giant chasm or crater of some kind that you have to make your way to the bottom of. It makes levels feel a bit more interesting than the traditional, hallway or corridor shooters, and I'm just a fan of what they did here. The enemies themselves take pretty heavy influence from Doom. If you look at them, you can see that they're pretty much straight up copies of like the Pinky Demon, the Imps, the Pain Elementals, and the Shotgun Zombies. But honestly, it doesn't bother me much. It's a good roster of enemies, and it's a formula that works. The enemy types work well in the gameplay, and it wears in nicely. It was a little bit distracting seeing the old Doom enemies. In a game like this, they're so similar. But after a while, it all kind of evens out, and it didn't really bother me much. General traversal and shooting feels a lot like a 90s game. It's got that classic high-speed, floaty movement, but as you'd expect, everything's been spiced up with modern presentation and mechanics. There's plenty of platforming sections, but it never feels like it's outstaying its welcome, and that comes back around to the vertical gameplay. There's a lot of that kind of stuff. But I think the thing that makes this game stand out above all the other retro FPS games out there is the combat. Prodeus gives a whole new meaning to the word gore. It's just delightfully violent. Enemies are basically big water balloons, and when you shoot them they explode violently, showering the area around them with blood and guts. I just had this big stupid grin on my face the first time I played this game and shot up a bunch of zombies. The gore is so over the top, but in the best way possible. It reminds me of the days when violence in video games was a really hot topic in politics, and every politician and parent was trying their best to ban violent video games everywhere. It really is a spectacle. When you rip enemies up with your weapons, their guts literally paint every surface around them. You can even see blood dripping from the ceiling when it manages to get up there. The art style and the sprite work come together with the gunplay to make a truly unique and, despite the content, beautiful looking game. All the particles and the showers of blood and guts looks fantastic, and it's also great feedback for the player that their weapons are having a serious impact, and it makes the combat feel that much more satisfying. And with all of it being backed up by another excellent soundtrack by Andrew Hulshult, I gotta say, this is just really satisfying stuff. Now speaking of the weapons, your arsenal is just as formulaic as the enemy types, but again, it's not something that really bothers me that much. Each weapon is unique enough and they all look and feel pretty damn good. You'll start with your fists for like all of 60 seconds in the first level before you get the pistol, and then working your way through the campaign, you'll slowly acquire the shotgun, the minigun, the railgun, the rocket launcher, SMGs, the super shotgun, the plasma rifle, and lots more. Each weapon also has an alternate fire mode. The pistol, for example, will go into an ADS mode and use a burst fire instead of a single fire. The plasma rifle shoots a tracking dart, and then all your shots kind of home in on whatever target you've marked. The shotgun has a charged up shot. It basically turns the shotgun into a sniper rifle. And there's even a super shotgun that goes above any other shotgun that I've seen in another video game. It's got 4 barrels and you can unleash all 4 at the same time if you want. It's really brutal. The game is in early access mode right now, and the campaign is relatively short. It only took me a few hours to finish, but I'm sure they're going to be adding more when the game hits its full release. And you can see in the weapon wheel too that there are a lot more weapons that I think they're planning on adding in the future. Now, even though the campaign is a short one for now, the devs have put in a level editor. I haven't played around with this myself yet, but I do hear that a lot of players have recreated levels from older games like Duke Nukem 3D that you can go in and play totally for free. So that's definitely a nice value add that should extend the life of the game quite a bit. All in all, I'm incredibly happy with Prodeus. It's another game that takes the philosophy of refreshing classic game design with modern technologies. And honestly, I think Prodeus is the game that does it the best out of all the similar games that I've played from the same genre. It's fast-paced, action-packed, super gory, and incredibly stylish, and I really appreciate this game for what it is. If I had to list off some cons, I have a couple of really nitpicky things about the game. First is that it's a little bit too easy on the medium difficulty, and even on the hard difficulty it's kind of easy. I think the difficulty curve needs to be bumped up a little bit. Maybe the hard difficulty actually needs to be medium. The game does get more challenging in the later levels, but those early levels I was just breezing right through with no problem at all on medium difficulty. There are a couple of higher difficulty levels if you want a real challenge with the game, but I just wish the baseline was a little bit more challenging. And my second kind of complaint with the game, one of the weapons, the Tesla cannon kind of weapon with the sniper secondary fire mode, it's a really cool weapon. It has a fast fire rate in its normal mode, and the sniper mode sounds like thunder, which is really cool, but I just wish it had a little more thump to it. It sounds a little bit flat when I use it, and it's not very satisfying. But again, that's being super nitpicky. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. That was just a quick look at Prodeus. It just hit its early access on November 9th, so it's still very early days for this game. There's way more to come, and I'm really looking forward to doing more videos on this game. I really like it. And if you're at all interested in this kind of genre of games, retro FPS revival type games, I highly, highly encourage you to check Prodeus out. It's a whole heap of fun. Anyway, that's going to be it for me. Please consider liking the video if you liked it. Subscribe for more content like this in the future. I'm Oscar Mikey, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video.